three. Terrence Ross just did this over the Manimal.
Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada.
What is happening, Raptorland? Back here with you as the Raptors move 5 games over 500 for the first time in almost 4 years. This is the Raptors Wrap-Up. Alright, so let's get right into the game breakdown of the Raptors' 103-93 win in Washington over the Wizards. First off, one of the big points I was looking at was how Jonas would do against that big experienced front line of the Wizards. And he actually started off pretty well. Usually with Jonas, you know early on if he has it or not. And he was boxing out well on both ends of the floor to start. He actually hit a couple jumpers early. And overall just started pretty well. Unfortunately, the Wizards moved to small ball midway through the first quarter. And it forced Jonas from the game. And he just never got his rhythm back. Casey never fully went back to him. He finished with 10 points, 4 boards in 18 minutes. But the minutes he did provide were good. He actually hit a jumper from about 15, 16 feet out, which is something we don't usually see from him. Usually he's pretty hesitant from anything over about 8 to 10 feet, but he looked confident, especially in his offensive game, which is a good thing. So despite the seemingly low numbers and low minutes, there are some positives to take away from this game for Jonas going forward. The Raptors certainly struggled early on the defensive end, and one of the things that kept him in the game was great play off the bench from Amir Johnson. This was his first game back coming off an injury, and he looked great early on both ends of the court, really confident in the offensive end, had an and one, and in just 6 minutes in the first quarter, he had 9 points. And that really kept the Raptors in it early. Amir finished up with 25 minutes, so it was good to see him get good minutes. Clearly, he is feeling pretty good about his ankle at this point. He finished with 14 points and 5 boards and brought a lot of energy. His hook shot looked good early, so overall, looks like he is pretty healthy, which is going to be great for the Raptors going forward. The big concern for the Raptors was obviously how they would handle John Wall, especially because he has seemed like a new player with a killer attitude in recent interviews and just in general on-court demeanor, and he came out of the gate like gangbusters. He had 19 points in the first half, and in the first quarter he was just all over the place, driving, and more importantly, he had his jumper going. Most of his points actually in the first quarter came from jumpers. He was hitting mid to long-range jumpers, which is the part of his game that he really needs to improve on. So it was really scary for the Raptors to see him getting a shot going early. And it looked like it could be trouble. The Wizards put up 27 points in the first quarter. And luckily, through the play of Amir Johnson and others, the Raptors were able to keep it tight after the first. But it certainly looked like it could be bad early on in the game. The key for the Raptors as it moved into the second quarter was certainly their bench. And that was led by Greivis Vasquez. He put up 6 quick points early in the second quarter and finished the second quarter with 6 points and 4 dimes. Now with Greivis, you're going to know if he has it going early or not, because if he tries to do too much, tries to shoot too much, tries to make too many nice passes, they result in turnovers, and that's when you know Greivis just doesn't have it going, and frankly, you kind of have to yank him from the game at that point because he can be a detriment. But when he plays the way he did last night, you can really see why he has the potential to be one of the best backup point guards in the league. He can stroke it from deep, he can get to the bucket and finish, and he can make nice passes and find open teammates. If he just takes what the defense gives him, he can be great, and that was the way he was playing on this night. It is important to note that the Raptors were up 6 at the half, which is important because Kyle Lowry only had 7 points and DeMar DeRozan just 5 at the half. So the Wizards really made a point to take DeRozan out of the game early, and Lowry just didn't have his shot falling. So it really underlines how well the second unit was playing to give the Raptors that 6-point lead at the half, with their best 2 players struggling early on offensively. Washington actually started out the second half fairly well, cut the lead to 2, but then the game flipped. In typical Raptors fashion, Dwayne Casey and the staff clearly had a defensive game plan they wanted to instill that wasn't working in the first half, which saw John Wall really go off, and they got that going in the second half. Good defense led to good offense as the Raptors won the third quarter 29-21. After a DeMar DeRozan basket where we also saw his shot start to fall a little bit in the third, the game really flipped. Kyle Lowry drew a charge, and the Raptors just took off after that. They ripped off a 15-2 run, and in the third quarter, we saw Kyle Lowry put up 14 points and 3 dimes. He was struggling with his shot in the first half. All of a sudden, he started driving, getting tough buckets in the lane, through contact, hit a couple long-range jumpers, including a 3, and that just totally flipped the game, and the Wizards really couldn't come back after that. This was highlighted by the fact that John Wall had just 3 points in the second half and 1 assist in the third quarter, and the Wizards' offense, as I had mentioned previously, did get stagnant and bogged down without Wall creating, and that just really turned the game. The Wizards just couldn't get anything else done offensively once Wall was shut down. As we entered the fourth quarter, the Raptors kept cruising along as they increased their lead to 18. This was really due to the second unit, where that's where the Raptors really took their advantage, was in the bench on both sides of the ball. The bench put up 43 points for the Raptors. Everyone was playing great all around. The Wizards made a point to try and shut down DeMar, and DeMar did mention in the postgame that he was fine with that. He just wanted to get his teammates involved and help out however he could, and this led to solid games from Patrick Patterson, Grievous Vasquez, Amir Johnson, and the rest of the bench really chipping in to make the difference in this game. And one thing that should be noted was the incredible defense the Raptors got from the power forward position. Amir Johnson, Patrick Patterson, and Tyler Hansbrough really did the job on the front line of the Wizards, and the power forward position just didn't offer much for the Wizards, and this was one of the factors that really helped the Raptors pull away in the second half. Now, on top of the Raptors' trademark good defense coming out of the second half this season under Dwayne Casey, they've also had a penchant for something else, and that's either coming back late in games when they're down big or giving up big leads and letting teams back in it. And once again, that happened in this game. The Raptors were cruising along, seemed like they were going to ease into a double-digit win, but Randy Whitman got tossed out of the game for arguing a call with 4.5 minutes left, and the game turned at that point. The Wizards fought to get back in it. The Raptors went the final 7-34 without scoring a field goal. They got a couple free throws to at least get a few points, but they really did let the Wizards get in it. They got it back to single digits. It got hairy for a minute, but the Raptors were able to hold on. They ended up winning by 10 points, 103-93, but it's just something you don't want to see from a team that's really trying to contend in the East. They should have been able to put the Wizards away. They weren't able to do that, but at least on the stretch, they were able to hold the win, and it still was by double digits. So that's something they're surely going to need to shore up going in the future. And when you're a young team, these kind of things are going to happen, and I'm sure Dwayne Casey and his staff are going to look to improve that. But overall, if you can take away the last half of the fourth quarter, it was a good performance by the Raps. They steadily got better as the game progressed, which is what you want to see, especially coming out of the All-Star break and with getting Amir back and fitting all the pieces right coming out of the break. You can expect to be a little rusty, and they improved throughout the game, which was key. All in all, a solid win for the Raptors. They got to keep that going. And back-to-back, heading back home against the Bulls. It's going to be a tough battle, but the guys seem to be saying the right things in the locker room after the game. The word was that DeMar went in, coming out of the All-Star break before the game against the Wizards, and said, look, I don't want to lose anymore. I want to win. This can be a winning team. We can get a winning culture in here, and let's get it. Let's get this second half. We got 30 games left. It's a sprint. We got to treat every game like a playoff game, and that seemed to really spark the guys in this one. And so, just to add final thoughts on this Raptors win, this was a true team win. This was 9 guys that all played well, all fit into their roles well in this game. And this is the kind of game that you look at and you say, what is the ceiling of this team? Because if a team wants to shut down a DeMar DeRozan, they can do that. And that's what the Wizards definitely tried to do in this game, and DeMar had no problem with that. He wanted to get other teammates involved and help them create, and the Raptors got good games from 9 different players, and that's how they won this, with their depth and by playing as a team and fitting into the roles that they need to fit into. So a game like this is really the kind of game where you can say, what can the Raptors do? Can they really make some noise in the playoffs? So that was really good to see. And just a quick note on Terrence Ross, it does need to be mentioned, was 1 of 2 from the field with 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. He was absolutely invisible tonight. He did get in foul trouble early, which did limit his minutes, but he's really going to need to pick it up down the stretch because John Solomons is really the only other player they can play in that spot, and he does have limited upside. If Terrence Ross is going, that is huge for the Raptors. If he can start hitting shots, it's going to be very tough to stop the Raptors. So he's going to be an X factor for the Raps, and he needs to continue to progress. It is only his second year, and that does need to be noted, but if the Raptors want to make some noise, Terrence Ross is going to be huge for them, and he really is going to need to step up. So that is going to do it for the second episode of the Raptors Wrap-Up. If you do want to go back and check out the first episode, at the beginning, I explained what this vlog is going to be all about and what you can expect. And at the end, I did talk about the juicy Rajon Rondo to the Raptors rumor and what might be happening there, what the Raptors might like to do going into the deadline. So look at those two things. They are still relevant. If you have any questions or things you'd like to see in this vlog in the future, leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to read them and try and incorporate that into the vlog. Thanks for watching.